Alright, so welcome back. This is SC2 here for Root Gaming's YouTube page. You should visit us at youtube.com/rootgaming and root-gaming.com. So we are going to have a Terran versus Zerg on Metalopolis here with Machine, the Zerg from EG at 9 o'clock, and Qxc, the Terran from Root Gaming at 6 o'clock. So pretty close air spawns here, longer ground spawns, the watchtower is in between, so really early attacks are probably going to get sniffed out. They're going to take a little bit longer to get over there. On Metalopolis, Zergs are going to be a little bit safer and going for quick expansions. So unsure as to what Machine is going to do. He usually does play a little bit safer and getting the pool first, but every once in a while you will see him go hatch first on Metalopolis just to mix it up a little bit, which I do like, making it yourself a little bit less predictable, meaning that, you know, the player has to scout you a lot more. They have to scout you very effectively, and if they just assume that they know what you're going to do, then you can make them pay for it on occasion. So Machine, you know, up to 14 supply, and going to start to save his resources, just waiting to see if it's going to be for a spawning pool or a hatchery. He has not built his spawning pool. There it goes. So he is going to go pool first as Qxc gets his gas up and continues to execute this pretty normal build so far. At these spawns on Metalopolis, you could easily go for Banshee play or really quick medevac drops, which have been becoming more popular in Terran versus Zerg. Get a bunch of Marines into a medevac, possibly with a Hellion, drop them into the mineral line really early when the Zerg is trying to drone up, and they feel that they're probably going to be safe. So especially in these positions, that would probably be rather effective. But orbital command on the way for Qxc. He is going to be getting to the point where he'd probably be dropping the tech lab if he would be making it after this Marine, so we'll have to see if he does that. No, he actually makes a second Marine, so possibly saving up his gas to start teching. We'll have to find out as he makes his Marine dance. Interesting there by Qxc, trying to have a little bit of a dance party at his wall, but Machine does start his natural expansion hatchery. And there's a really quick factory from Qxc, so possibly going straight into Hellions. Could be going for the reactor. Maybe. He doesn't have 50 gas yet, it's the only problem. So we're going to have to see as soon as that gas hits 50, there it is. And yeah, so he's going to be starting with a pretty standard Hellion opening, as Machine just gets his expansion up and running. And we'll have to see what he does with his first 100 gas. Most likely going to get speed out for quick speedlings, try and help deflect most of the early attacks from Qxc. Qxc is going to start with a command center pretty aggressively, so that he's going to be putting a decent amount of pressure onto Machine with his Hellions, trying to secure his expansion while that's going on. Going back to Machine, he's almost up to 100 gas. There it is. It's not starting the speed, so it looks like he might be going straight into a layer. Yeah, there it is. That is natural. Dropping a spine crawler and a layer, skipping the speed on his Zerglings. So he's going to be a little bit more defensive. Probably do that thing he likes to do where he puts the Zerglings at the top of the ramp and get that spine crawler in place. And then try and trap any units that try and do a run by. The spine crawler is just a smidge late though. So these Hellions are going to get there before the spine crawler is finished. Not that many Zerglings up here as compared to usual. And Qxc is making a Ghost Academy, you can see on the production tab. So Qxc does check out the ramp. He sees the Zerglings and he backs off immediately. Good job not getting trapped. Let me find this Ghost Academy. There it is. So possibly moving into Ghosts. Hellions into Ghost transition is kind of a normal build. It's a little bit out there, it's not too common, but I've seen it from a lot of different players. It seems like it's very effective. You can use it very versatilely, and it appears to be somewhat safe if you control it correctly. So he's going to get the energy upgrade immediately, so he's probably just going to be going for mass snipe against the Zerg army. Get some Hellions out to kill the Zerglings, use the snipe against roaches or mutalisks, and just do a ton of damage with that true 45 damage shot, no matter the armor. So depending on how Qxc pulls this off, this could be pretty dangerous. He is going to be using pretty much all of his gas on these ghosts, though. So he does have his second gas up and running. Probably going to see 2 gases dropped at his natural pretty quickly as well. I don't think Machine has scouted out the expansion from Qxc. No, he has not. So third barracks on the way, waiting for him to drop that extra gas here at the natural. And Machine is going Roaches and Roachwort and Spire at the same time, which is something that I've seen him do a decent amount. Just so that you're left kind of guessing on which one he's actually going to do. Usually has enough spare minerals at this point in the game to drop both of them at the same time. And then he'll try and scout around and see which one you're trying to counter. The only problem is that this build by Qxc kind of counters both. Because he's got a decent amount of bio out on the field. Going to be stockpiling some Hellions to deal with Zerglings. Going to have the Marines and Ghosts out in order to deal with the Mutalisks and Snipe. Plus a couple of Marauders will deal with Roaches as well. So, very well-rounded build here by Qxc. Still continuing to produce these Hellions, like I said. And every time he's got 150 extra gas, he just makes a Ghost. Mixing in a few Marauders as well. Very good job of rounding out this build just a little bit more with these Marauders to make it a little bit more safe. And going for a pretty quick engineering bay, probably just going to drop some missile turrets, protect himself against possible Mutalisks. But Machine is going Roaches, getting Burrow, and Speed this time, so he's not going to be going for Mutalisks. But Qxc, if he scans that, he's probably going to have to drop some turrets anyway, because he's not aware of that. So waiting to see when Qxc feels like he's safe enough to move out here, as this could do a decent amount of damage depending on the timing that he moves out with. Machine did scout out the Ghost Academy, so he has double Overseer out. It's going to be a little bit smarter than the guy we saw on Team Look at Attack, who made 1 Overseer at a time. So that they got, so that they got sniped repeatedly. But Machine's actually moving forward, and this is going to play into Qxc's favor, as he does see this coming with the Watchtower. He's got a pretty good supply of Marauders on the field. He does not have Stim finished, but with this build, he doesn't quite need it yet. Probably going to see a bunch of snipes coming out if he gets in a decent position here. There we go, a bunch of snipes going out onto the Roaches. If you watch their health, they just drop very quickly, especially with the Marauders backing up the Ghosts. Pretty much all of the Roaches there died. The Hellions took out all the Zerglings, but the Hellions did wind up falling in the process. Machine being annoying and contaminating the barracks of Qxc, he does snipe that Overseer just to kill it, and there's a nuke in production at the Ghost Academy. So Qxc is just going to replenish his Hellion count a little bit, get a couple more Marauders and Ghosts out on the field. Maybe see him get a couple Medivacs out. That would probably be rather nice. Some of these Ghosts are pretty low health. One of them's at 4, the other one's at 20. But he could probably pull this off with the tech that he has in place right now. Machine does have his third base up and starting to run, so Qxc probably needs to move somewhat soon to do some damage. Because if Machine can sit on this third base for too long, he will be able to make just a ton of forces, more than Qxc is going to be able to snipe repeatedly. But he is moving out again with this Marauder, Ghost, and Hellion army. And now that, Machine has switched into Mutalisks, Snipe does even better against Mutalisks, because the Ghost's normal damage gets that bonus versus Mutalisks. As you can see, it does double the damage against Mutalisks, doing 22 damage a shot. Ghosts themselves are decent at killing Zerglings, but the Ghosts are rather out of position. He's going to lose quite a few of those to the Zerglings, and now his anti-air is pretty much nothing. So he's just going to move in on the third base of Machine, stim up, and looks like he will take it out. Oh no, he just barely saves his expansion, killing those marauders with the spine crawlers and roaches. So good job there of getting those spine crawlers up at his third base. Qxc looks like he's in a decent amount of trouble right now, though he does have a pretty nice amount of ghosts sitting at home. He'll be able to shoot and snipe those mutalisks just to scare them away. That really quick snipe micro there by Qxc. You can shift right click the snipe, but it actually winds up being a little bit slower because you can't hit the same target twice like by doing that. So if just doing the R click, R click, R click, R click, and shotgunning it tends to be the most effective method that I have found out myself. Machine going for a Baneling Nest. Little known fact, ghosts are not light. They seem like they should be, but they're not. So they're able to take quite a few Baneling hits as well as the Marauders. So Baneling's not going to be doing a whole ton of damage against this army of Qxc, but he does get his third base up and working on a planetary fortress. So if he can get this base up and running and maybe get more tech running, get medevacs out possibly, then he would be looking pretty good. He does have this nuke finished. Wondering what he's going to be able to do with that. As a nuke, even if it doesn't land, it's going to scare your opponent quite a bit because he's going to have to stop and go, where's the nuke? There's going to this just twitch reaction of, oh crap, whenever that little nuclear launch detected thing appears on the screen. So Machine is a pretty good standing army of Zerglings, Banelings, with a decent number of roaches, only a couple left, but he still has a pretty good force of mutas. He didn't lose too many to those ghosts as he backed up as soon as he saw that many ghosts and that they were sniping his mutalisks. So he could actually hit some of these stray buildings here in Qxc's base, but he does decide that he's going to back off instead. So just looking around, Machine is getting the melee upgrades and the carapace. Melee is very effective for the Zerg army at this point, especially if you're getting Banelings, because it upgrades the damage on Zerglings, Banelings, and it sets you up for a transition into Ultralisks later in the game. So a lot of players just default to making missile attacks as a Zerg player, but there's a decent amount of time where melee upgrades are going to be just really good. So Mutalisks do try to fly into the third base, but he sees two missile turrets, which are enough to scare away about 30 Mutalisks apparently, because missile turrets are just very good. These ghosts are out here all by themselves. They need to get the hell out of here. He's going to stop and snipe because he's just going to get caught, so he's going to take down as many of these Mutalisks as he can before he dies. He kills all of the Mutalisks, so that does wind up being a bit closer to an even trade, but that was a decent decision there by Qxc. Relatively certain he was not going to be able to save those units. So just stopping and taking out the Mutalisks instead. So we are hitting a sort of lull at the moment. It's getting to the point where I would have to cut this for YouTube. So I'm going to pause this replay and stop the VOD. These VODs